Good afternoon, and welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Crackpack. So, if you recall, I need to work on power. That's our goal. And I was doing some thinking as to what I wanted to do. Like, if we pop in here, you'll notice this thing's draining on power right now. I'm probably going to add some more combustion generators to this for the time being, because the power system that I decided we're going to work on is actually going to take a few episodes. So I think due to our current power crisis that we have, I'm going to focus the next few episodes on this power gen until we get it fully set up. So today what we're going to be working on is actually RF tools, dimensions, and I'll talk a little bit about those. For those of you that aren't familiar with them, it's pretty much like Mistcraft. It's pretty much the unspoken successor to Mistcraft. And honestly, personally, I like it a bit more. I like Mistcraft, but RF tools bring so much more to the table. And the dimensions are the major aspect that you think of when you think of RF tools. But the reason we're going to be getting into that is because the power gen that I decided to go with is actually going to be using salination towers and everything. Like we've covered how to get the salination towers to work during the day, but if we take a look in here, there's another block from Mekanism, the solar neutron activator, that does not run during the night. There's no way to make it run unless the sun is up. And I'm wanting to do a Mekanism reactor, and it's a major undertaking. There's a lot of steps to setting that up and everything. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it does, when it's set up and it's running, it does produce an immense amount of power. So I think that's going to fix our power generation. It's our first really heavy-duty power gen so far in this series. And, I was kind of debating between that and a few other different reactors, but the Mekanism one's just so powerful. When it's running well, it can produce up to like 3.5 million RF per tick, depending on the setup. But anyway, let's go ahead and start diving into RF tools, and I'll show you what I have in mind to fix the solar neutron activator and make it run all the time. So for those of you that don't know, dimlets, I'm sure you've ran across them. They're fairly common to get. And you need to run them through one of these scanners to see, I actually don't need this filing cabinet. Yeah, it's emptied. I had that, then I was like, I actually want to go with a modular storage with a dimlet. Oh man, with a dimlet connection. So I ended up going with that instead. But you'll see that we have all of our dimlets in here. So basically I have it set up so if we throw the dimlets in the chest, they're going to go through, they're going to get scanned, then they're going to get output to the storage block. And basically all of these dimlets dictate different things. So you have different ones for biomes and terrain and mobs and time and the sky and all this different stuff. Scanning through here, you'll see a ton of these. There's hundreds of these things for pretty much everything that you could think of. And then we're going to combine these together to make our ideal dimension, which I want a dimension where it never rains and it's always noon. So that way everything that's solar based, all of our solar evaporation towers, all of our neutron activators, all that stuff is going to run 24/7. And then all we have to do is chunk load it, and we'll have all that liquid generation. The actual reactor will be setting up on our base, but all the liquid creation and stuff we're going to set up in this dimension. So I've actually got a few dimlets here set to the side. These are the ones we're going to be using today. So I'll go over those. We'll go ahead and take a look at those actually. Well, let's see. We've got a void dimlet. We've also got a clean dimlet, which that one we may not need since we're using void, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it in there. A red sun, because I think it looks, it looks nice and everything. We also have a noon dimlet, so that it is always noon, regardless. The time doesn't move at all. And then we also have a no rain weather, so it's never going to rain on us, so that solar stuff's going to run all the time. And we also have a biome desert dimlet. So it's going to be a desert, which of course will make our solar evaporation towers run at full capacity all the time without needing the charcoal support that we have. I may end up moving our brine tower over there. I don't know. We'll see. Because then I wouldn't have to run the charcoal because it would always be at maximum heat. But we'll see. We shall see. So anyway, to get started with this, we are going to want a few different blocks to actually start making our RF tool stuff. So first off, we're going to need just a number of that's the IC2 one. Okay. We're going to need a few of these machine blocks. And from RF tools, machine frames. So let's go ahead and get, I don't know, like 4, 5 of those maybe. And then we're going to need a decent number of things from RF tools. So the first thing that I want is a dimension inscriber. Now what this does is it creates the dimension. I'll show you how that works in a second. Then we're also going to want a dimension builder. This actually builds a dimension once we come up with what we want. Let's see. Don't think I want any of the rest of that stuff. At least not right now. The dimension we're going to be making should be fairly cheap. So I also want a matter transmitter and receiver. And actually, let's go ahead and get one of those. And then we're going to get 2 of the, actually let's get 2 of the transmitters. Because when you spawn a world, it comes with a receiver by default, but it doesn't have a transmitter by default. So you do want an extra transmitter to take over there. And let's see. Let's also grab, what's it called? The dialing device. Okay, I'm going to need one more machine frame, and let's get that. And then we should be set. Now, if you have teleports, you don't necessarily have to bring a receiver or another transmitter with you, but I would suggest it just in case something happens and maybe you lose it. You don't want to be stuck in that dimension. So we'll go ahead and put our inscriber down in our builder. And then we'll put our, let's see, we'll do our dialing device. Actually, I've got wireless power, so we'll just put it right here for now. That works. And then these, whoops. Okay. We'll put our, let's see, we'll put our transmitter over there, and we'll put our receiver there. Okay. That's good. And then we'll just pop down here. And I do want to get all these power crystals upgraded soon too to the Awakened Draconium ones, because these really don't transmit that much power. What did I do with my wrench? I had it earlier because I plugged up that scanner. I don't know what I did with it, unless I dropped it or something. Just very, very possible. I need to change my key binding because I have it set to Q still, because Q is like convenient when you want to drop things, but at the same time it's very inconvenient when you accidentally drop stuff. And I have a terrible habit of just dropping things, especially when I'm flying around. I'll hit Q on accident and, you know, chuck something, you know, into lava or into the water or into nothingness, you know. So let's go ahead and connect this up. Position saved. And we're going to link it to the inscriber. Doesn't actually need any power, but we're going to link up the builder. We're going to link up the dialing device. And it's not getting power. I think it's all going to that right now. And we'll link up our transmitter and receiver. Now this dimension builder has a massive power buffer. So it is going to take it a little while to fill up. So we'll give it a little bit of time here. And let me go ahead and fill that in real quick. And I mean, I guess I could bring a vibrant bank over, but there is a couple other things that we're going to need that I just thought of. The first up is going to be a tesseract. So let's go ahead and get, oh, did I not teach it pyrotheum? I'll have to do that. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get a couple pieces of pyrotheum dust for right now. And then let's get our tesseracts. We just need one of them, because I've already got one set up that we made a while back for energy line. And then I'm also going to want, let's see, the empty dimension tab. Because basically this is what you're going to write your dimensions to in the inscriber. And, okay, that's probably going to take a minute, actually. Yeah, it's making all that enderium and stuff. Okay, well, let's go ahead and make our dimension. And by the way, if you want to, you can always take one of those dimension tabs. You can throw it into the inscriber and not even add anything. You can just make just a random dimension, which we'll do one of those later just to see what we get, like luck of the draw kind of a thing. So anyway, let's go ahead and make ourselves the first dimension. So we're going to put our dimension, our blank dimension thing in that slot. And we'll just throw everything in there. Now, you'll notice that right now it says everything appears to be alright. It says okay right there. I don't think any of these are tied together. No. Okay. But let's say, for example, let me grab like a liquid fire water. That sounds good. And since we don't have anything dictating a liquid, you'll notice it says warn, which stands for warning, of course. And basically it means there's a modifier in here that's not really going to do anything whenever you make the dimension, because it doesn't have anything that it's modifying. So the reason that liquid water is throwing up a warning is because there's nothing that's actually going to use that modifier. There's not going to be any liquid. It's a void world. There's no terrain generation or anything like that. So also, by the way, if I was to pull that time out, and I didn't have anything to dictate time, that time would just get randomized. So you don't necessarily have to put a dimlet in for every single individual thing and dictate everything. If you don't put, say, a sky modifier in there, it's going to randomly decide the sky. If you don't put a weather in there, it's not going to randomly decide that, and so on. So you don't have to necessarily fill out every single possible modification for a dimension before you create it. So you can just adjust certain things, and it's just going to adjust those corresponding things whenever it goes to make it. But I'm going to have a quick look through all of this, make sure there's nothing else that I want to add. I don't think there is. I think I'm pretty happy with the choices, but I want to just double check real quick. Okay, I'm pretty happy, I think, with everything. So let's go ahead and make this. So that we have all of our dimlets in there. We have our empty dimension tab. Everything's okay. We can hit store, and we'll get this realized dimension tab. And so then what we can do is we can throw this into the dimension builder and start generating our dimension. Now it will take a little bit. You'll notice the power buffer is still building up, and once we throw this in there, it's going to build out the dimension. Then it's probably going to drain out all of the power that's in there, because these do have a decent amount of power buffer in those dimensions once they're built and everything. So then what we can do is we can go into the dimension builder and throw in. You can wait till the power buffer fills up. You don't necessarily have to. It is just about filled up. Like I said, this dimension, this realized dimension tab is going to pretty much drain out everything out of this once we throw it in there. So just a heads up, if you see it drain all the power, don't be alarmed. Actually, before we do this, let me make sure and grab my tesseract. That should be done by now. All right, and now let's go ahead and get this thing made. Now I am going to double check. Okay, we do have a tesseract, energy line number 1. Okay, that works. So I keep forgetting I have that traveler, staff of the traveler. So everything is in order. We have our transmitters, our receivers, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and we'll throw our realized dimension tab in there. You'll notice we have like a percent that's going up. Basically, it's just building the dimension. You can see it kind of coming in. It's darkening and everything, and now 100% built, and it did drain out all the power in there. And you'll notice that the power buffer on the current power is building up. So basically it's charging up, and it's going to store just an absolute ton of power. You'll also notice that the maintenance cost on this is 145 RF a tick. So that's how much RF per tick that it's going to need, which it's really minor. We shouldn't have any issues at all running that. So, and you can also see the dimlets listed there, what all's in your dimension and everything, and it says dimension is ready. So what we can do, now that we've got that, is we can actually go there. Now, one thing, if you see your current power kind of fluctuating or going down, do be careful, because that's unstable. And here in a little while, I'm going to try to show you what an unstable dimension is like. So, but anyway, it'll be probably your most recent ID. This one says ID 5. So, we'll go ahead and dial this. And what you do is you select the top one is like your home, and hit dial. Or you can do dial once if you don't want it dialed all the time. And I'll show you in a second how to rename that stuff, just to make it a little bit easier for you. You know, when you have a lot of different teleports and stuff, how to make it easier, you know, finding your way around and whatnot. So anyway, you will notice that we are in a desert biome, and it's a void world. And I just now realized we probably didn't need to put the no rain, because in the desert it doesn't rain anyway. So, but anyway, we did it anyway. So I just realized that. But let's see. So you'll notice that this has dropped a little bit of power every time that you teleport here. It's going to be hot. I'm going to have to take this stuff off. Every time that you teleport here, it is going to take a little bit of power from your receiver. That's why I suggest you bring your Tesseract. So, I mean, even if you have teleports, it never hurts to just have them here, you know, just to have it set up. We'll go ahead and connect that to the energy line 1, and then we'll go ahead and add in our matter transmitter on there as well. That's getting power. Everything's good. I like it. And then what we can do is we can actually set a name here. So we can say, for example, this receiver, we'll say this is desert void world, and then we'll do our matter transmitter. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. I'm bad. Luckily, I have teleports. And so don't forget this. Especially if you don't have teleports, do not forget to make yourself a dialing device, because you do need to dial back to home. Now, once you dial, or once you have your dialing device, everything's going to be good. You do, of course, this does need power. So we're going to plug this into the Tesseract, but your dialing devices don't have to be like right next to your transmitters or anything, so don't worry about that. Okay, so we got that, and let's go ahead and hop over here and head back to our spiffy new void world. By the way, we'll go ahead and set this receiver to home, and then we can link up this and our desert void world, and we can even name this one if we want to. We could say home trans for our home transmitter, home transmit. So we'll link that up and hop on in here. Not enough power, really? Why is that? Because this is draining everything. It's prioritizing this one block instead of evenly balancing. So I think what I'm going to do is we'll set this to unbind, and we'll just unbind it for a second. That's going to give this power. Okay, everything's good now. I really need to get this power situation sorted very, very quickly. And whoops, target invalid. Okay, position saved, and we'll go ahead and connect that back up. So that's going to start charging up. Like I said, I mean, this thing has just a massive RF buffer that's going to generate. So eventually it'll stop, promise. But for right now, it's going to keep going. But anyway, we'll go ahead and just put our dialing device here next to our Tesseract. And let's go ahead and name this one. We'll say Desert World Trans. And then we can connect our desert world to our home. We'll go ahead and just dial it. I don't usually dial once unless it's like the home base or something. And I have a bunch of teleports. So anyway, now we have our void world. And so that is all set up and ready to start, you know, building our solar evaporation towers and all that good stuff here. And it's going to be daytime all the time. Time's never going to move. And it's really going to help us out with our mechanism reactor, because that thing does go through a lot of liquid, just a heads up. But anyway, I'm going to get a couple things together, and we're going to talk a little bit more about RF tools before we end out the episode. Okay, I just realized we're not going to have time to really start the mechanism stuff this episode, because there's a lot to cover. I will start getting some of those salination towers set up before next episode, and then we'll cover how to actually use those and all that good stuff. But I do want to show you one other thing really, really quick. If we were to take, say, just an empty dimension tab, we could throw this into here and say store it, and you'll notice that it becomes a realized dimension. And we can pull this out, throw this in, and it's going to generate a world. Basically, it just creates a random world for you that you can go into and explore. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's not so good. So we'll see. It's actually struggling on power right now. A little bit. It seems like it's probably stable. How is the maintenance cost? That's the problem. It's like massive maintenance cost. How did it get that? Okay. I don't know what's in this thing, but let's go ahead and dial it, and let's pop in there really, really quick. So we're going to say home connects to ID 8, and let's take a peek, because you might get to see a dimension that's like kind of breaking down and stuff as well. I don't know what else is going to be in here. Aha! It's collapsing world. Awesome. Okay. That's what happens there. Give me a second, because I'm going to stabilize it really, really quick, and then we'll pop back in there. Okay, so this is going to be stable for a little while now, so we can pop in there. It's not going to be stable too long. This thing does eat a ton of power if you end up with a dimension like this one, but at least we can get our stuff back. But that's why I say be careful. Make sure that you're not jumping into a dimension when it's not stable, because I can get my stuff back pretty easily, but you may run into a situation where it's not quite so easy to get your stuff back. So you'll notice, like, this is just pretty much a standard looking world. As you fly around, let's see, what's so special about this one? It's just a void world, it looks like, with island spawn. And it looks like just one island as well. Okay. I was hoping there would be a structure. By the way, this stuff right here, these volcanic blocks that are coming out, are due to the fact that the world is becoming unstable. You'll also sometimes hear trembling. It means the world's starting to run out of power. Danger levels increasing, lava starting to eat up the place. It's bad times, basically. I don't see any of the structures here, so I'm going ahead and teleporting out. But as you increase your RF costs and stuff with your dimensions, of course you do run a higher risk of running into things that are just too much power to really fuel them, because they can get very expensive when you start adding some of the really, really good modifiers in there, like emerald blocks, like big floating blocks of emerald. You know, things like that are going to be very, very expensive. But so if we look in here, you'll notice that this thing is starting to drop in power, which means it's starting to destabilize. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out of there. And it was just pretty much to show you guys what that's like. But you can make worlds just randomly like that, and they won't necessarily be expensive like that. That one just kind of got a bad luck of the draw kind of thing. So anyway, next episode we'll probably go ahead and start the mechanism stuff, and then we'll go into space after that. I don't know, because I really need to get this power sorted out. Like, this is kind of important, because I mean, we're steadily dropping in power. I'm probably going to add some more combustion generators over there, because realistically we can support them with the amount of rocket fuel that we're creating. with this, yeah, I mean, we're good on rocket fuel. So I could upgrade that. But next episode, we'll dive headfirst into the mechanism, you know, starting to set up the reactor and everything. It is a little bit of a process. But next episode, we'll cover how to do all the liquids and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and build some salination towers in our new dimension and everything. Of course, by the way, if you have any questions about RF tools, do let me know. And by the way, while we're talking about the RF tools dimensions and you know, going into those and everything, you can craft yourself one of these dimension monitors once you have a couple unknown dimlets. And basically, this is going to tell you how much power the current dimension that you're in has within its system. So you can kind of see if it's starting to drop and stuff. You can kind of have like a visual indicator there. You can also craft this phased field generator. And what it's going to do is going to give you, like, when the world starts collapsing, it's going to give you like a phase field, like an energy field or whatever around you. That's going to protect you from being killed when you're in a collapsing dimension. And what I was trying to find, by the way, was dimensional shards. We were kind of in a rush to get through that last area. I think I might have spotted some. But anyway, this stuff only spawns in the RF tools dimensions. And once you start an RF tool dimension, you're going to find quite a bit of these. I'm probably going to make a few extra, like, spare dimensions. Well, once I get the power sorted out. Right now, it's hard to run much of anything. But we'll use that stuff later on for, like, empowering and different things. But if you make this phased field generator, you can actually use this to go into dimensions that are collapsing. And, you know, if you were to die, you can use that, go back and get your stuff, and that should give you time to get out. So if you're having trouble with that, I do suggest you make that phase field modifier. But anyway, I'm going to end out the episode there. And like I said, if you guys have any questions about RF tools or anything, feel free to let me know. Also, I do apologize. This episode's coming out a bit later than intended. I ended up I'll admit, I got a bit sidetracked with chisels and bits on all the mods and was making carpets, and it took, it drained all my time out. I lost track of time, to say the least. But yeah, next episode we will be starting to set up the mekanism reactor. So I hope you guys are excited about that. It's a lot of fun to set up, but it's a multi-step process, to say the least. There's a lot of stuff involved, kind of like the ore quintupling. You know, mekanism tends to have some really good machines, but they take a lot of setup. You know, rather large setups and stuff. So we'll definitely be doing that in the next episode. A lot of salination towers that I'll be building, and a lot of copper and steel and stuff that's going to be going away. But anyway, I hope you guys join me for that. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already for more daily videos. And until next time, as always, do take care, and I hope to see you guys then.